Welcome. You are listening to lucky number 3 episode of Talk to Warlock. David just got back from his week-long vacation in Greece. Greece is pretty cool. We talk about some of his experiences and insights he's had from the trip. David has been reading 2 all-time great books that we've been talking a lot about. The 40 Rules of Love by Elif Shafak, which talks about one of the most incredible poets in history, Rumi, and his epic story, as well as Carlos Castaneda's teachings of Don Juan, which is a serious dive into a shamanistic, ancient rabbit hole. We talk about gender, diversity, understanding each other, and reconnecting to our most wise inner voice. I share some breakthroughs I've recently had in relating to certain individuals that are a part of the LGBTQ+ movement, as well as understanding the policy of heavily pushing towards a kind of forced diversity in the job sector, where a company would be incentivized or even forced to have a certain quota of predetermined certain groups of people. 2 things that for some time now I've internally struggled to fully grasp, and I'm someone who really likes to understand things, not just fight for them or fight against them or not care. I like to really come at it from the perspective of understanding it the way that the person I'm looking at feels it, like from their own perspective. This is an awesome episode. Hope you enjoy. Engage with us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, or on our own subreddit /Talk to Warlock. We'll be waiting to hear from you.
I tried to imagine where this is all going,
Yes.
and I tried to think of it in an integrated way with technology. We've had this discussion before about when we move into this area of when we move into the era of like VR, and not necessarily VR, but in that direction, like augmented reality, virtual reality, where we're living in an once removed world, like once removed from this current way of being, where you're no longer in that world. You're no longer born this or that. You really get to pick whatever your avatar is, and it's like the gender identification is the only thing left. It's like what you that act through your that device. The person that's using the device identifies in a certain way, and they will gonna probably project that to some degree to their avatar. But I was just imagining a society where what you were just talking about, where the lines are way more evened out. It's just equal. Because even then, even in that world, you don't even have the biological differences other than like the chemical and the uh, electrical firing and the machinery of again the person that's interfacing with the device. It's like that's the only thing that is being affected by the biology of being a man and the biology of being a woman. It's gonna be of this place where it is this sort of a playground of equality.
Like an equalizer.
Yeah. Your avatar is whatever the fuck you want it to be. It can be a gender, it could be genderless, it could be a fucking dog for whatever I know. Whatever. It's whatever.
The thing is, like, it kind of ties into this, but I made this observation recently. Um, I've been really pondering this for a long time, in a way, because I am a person who really likes to relate to people when I see them, uh, do something. and I try to understand like where would I be in my life if that's what I was expressing, so that I could empathize with their cause and really see where they're coming from and what their needs are and what they're suffering from or whatever thing is. So it like allows me to like process that as best as I can. And one thing that I was really having trouble relating to for a long time, but I think I made a real big progress on is seeing people that looked uh I really don't know what the best word to use, but it's like they don't really fit into what you would recognize as a specific gender. Like you look at them and there's no instant like this is a man or this is a woman. You look at them and it's like in between or like vague. Like they're just kind of like not very polarized.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think a part of that is probably a rebellion against the very labels of men and women that neither of these roles are actually cool. Like there's a part of the society that they don't really feel like being a man, and they don't really feel like being what society considers like the typical woman. That's not really fit them either. So they're just kind of like, okay, well, we don't really uh, we don't want to be within either of those frames or boundaries. So we're just going to kind of like rebel against both of those. I think that makes a lot more sense to me now of like where like that frustration comes from against culture and stereotypes and limitations because they probably just want to express it themselves in their own way. And
Yeah,
I could kind of see that.
yeah, man. I see that too.
I also had a weird thing about something that I've never empathized with before, but it actually seemed cool in a way that I've never connected with before, which is uh uh like diversity in jobs, like people like companies that are like, oh, you have to hire like X amount of these different groups of people in order for you to be like a good company or something like that. Like you can't hire all like one group of people. It has to be like diverse, or like you have to like hire minorities and stuff like this, or like give like be like what is called an equal opportunity employer, but even more than that, like forced diversity almost. And I've always um found that found something very wrong with that from a certain place, and I kind of see that perspective. Not that I think it's wrong, but I also saw something really interesting. I noticed there was a lot more black people in Vancouver recently. Like I just keep seeing black people everywhere, and I wondered, this might be very wrong, but I wondered maybe because of um that impulse or like that trend of diversity and companies being incentivized to hire a very diverse team of employees, that these people are getting a lot more opportunities to get jobs. Like there's a lot more jobs that are open for them. Companies really want to hire black people. Companies really want to hire minorities. They're very incentivized to do it. And so they're just getting to have all these jobs, and I see them all everywhere. And it's kind of cool that they're getting like a chance to actually like for once they're just getting a real fair chance to have a play at the game in a way. Um Not in the sense that they're like because they've been isolated from that for a long time, you know. It's not like they've always had that and then you just sit there. And I think that on some level probably companies could still have like a healthy mix of both uh approaches, in the sense that I don't think a lot of companies would hire a black person just because they're black. Probably a lot of the time they're still going to look for the best candidate they could find who is part of a minority or who is from that background that they're looking for. So they're still going to look for somebody really good. It might be a step down from something, but for most jobs, I don't think that's really that relevant. Like it's okay to have some like if you're talking about like a McDonald's or a cashier or like some basic job, it doesn't matter that much like who you're getting. But it's kind of cool. There is something cool about kind of like giving people opportunity, kind of like by rules, kind of like that. I found that something interesting.
Very, very interesting. I thought of what you said about when I was on my trip. We talked a little bit about. Fuck, I lost my train of thought. What were you talking about? You're talking about
I am talking
diversity and
about diversity, uh, black people forced, like a people hiring minorities and supporting them, and how cool it is that they're getting like a chance to have a fair thing. And then we were talking before that about men and women and genders and stuff.
yeah. No, you were mentioning something really interesting in one of the things you wrote about. Fuck, I'm
You mean the thing
losing.
I wrote about patriarchy and that like a men or what is it,
Yeah, it might be.
or slavery?
Yeah, slavery. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was what it was. I thought of the white guilt stuff and the way the people
Yeah.
feel, and it's really dark. As when you look at it from the perspective that you describe. I don't know if you
Yeah.
could describe it again in a way.
Basically, I was looking. It's very, if you're in tune with modern uh, narrative and with the modern media and kind of like the way that things are in our culture at the moment in popular media, you see this thing of very very strongly, especially today, of like white guilt, and for a long time there's been this sense of like not just white people, but like everybody else feels like these Europeans that came, like why did they do this? Why are they like enslaving these people? How could they have done this? Like how could they feel like it's okay to treat these people this way? And how dark that is, and people really like feel so bad about it. And of course, it is a fucking monstrosity. If when you really look at history, you look at what happened, and that's very much there. It is undeniable. At the same time, if you really look back at how that took place and you try to really look at how that actually happened, if you ask that question sincerely and you actually look and you go back in Europe's history for a very long time. I don't know exactly when. Dan Carlin would be a very good person to talk to about this, or some kind of historian. I think he would be very good at this because I've heard him talk a lot about Rome and the Celtics and that era. Because it's ever since Rome's early days, that has been very much a part of the European way of doing things. Like, especially Rome, I think, really put that on the map of taking people, enslaving them, and having an elite class of royalty that are kind of like connected to God or some weird shit. And that everybody else is basically peasants. They're like a lower class of people. They're just resources to be used, and they are just basically supposed to give themselves to the greater good of the nation. But really, the greater good of the nation is just a few people sitting at the top that take all the food, take all the taxes, and the rest of the people are like starving to death and being like basically completely used by their government. And that and that kept happening for a really long time. I don't think that the concept of a middle class really existed in that much in a lot of historical Europe. Like, I'm sure there probably was places that had a good time, but I think it was really common to have this concept of the peasant, of the lower class citizen, and the upper class royalty. Like, European society is extremely classist in its historical nature, I think. And a part of that, I think, when those Europeans fled their churches and their old nations that were abusing them in this way, and they went to the new world, running away, trying to find a better life, trying to be rich, trying to find prosperity. When they went there, what is their mentality of building an economy? What is their mentality of building uh, a nation? Their approach that they've been like under for thousands of years most likely
is to have an classist society where where somebody is at the very top benefiting, and then there's a lower class of people that are like the workers. It wasn't a thing where everybody just works and shares. It was like classist, and so it's almost like not that crazy that then they go on. It's like a person who's been abused or molested their whole lives, or been treated violently. So what happens when they're in a relationship and something wrong happens? They're violent because why? That's what their brain knows. That's what they've always known. Like they just that's their life. And so when they came here, they kind of reflected that. They brought these people from Africa. They artificially and culturally programmed the society to have them be like a lower class people, like consciously engineering them out of education, consciously engineering them into extremely weird family situations and beating them up if they even tried to read or open a book, and completely like creating a class gap intentionally, and then using that as a way to use those people for their workers, and as basically the new peasants and the new slaves, just like they were in back in Europe. And it took a long time, but not that long, maybe like I mean it's super long for the people that were in it, but historically speaking, in comparison to like Europe, because things are going faster and faster as we approach the present and the future. It took like I don't exactly know how long, like a really long time, a few hundred years probably, before they got out of slavery. But yeah, I think eventually people probably realized like how fucked up this shit was. But for them before that, it was kind of normal. Like that's what they were used to. So I'm not sure how much of this is like what it is, but I just thought about this like as a piece of the puzzle, you know? I think that
Hmm.
is a piece of the puzzle.
Oh yeah, no, the mentality of it. I think it's
Yeah,
very logical, to me at least. I don't know either if it's like you're not a historian, but if you just
right.
sit down and think of how these things are strung
Right.
together.
It seems very logical, natural,
Yeah,
like consequence of it.
yeah. It's also, I think this one of the most powerful social phenomena that I'm aware of is group mentality, the the us thing that we do,
Hmm.
the
Yeah.
me thing that gets expanded into a group of people,
Right.
really supports the furthering of these conflicts of where people feel disparaged, or one group of people that have been subjected to this
Yes.
cruelty gets this group identification of you've done this, us, and then it goes back, and it just goes back and forth through history. It's just
Yes. So then they end up doing it to somebody
yeah,
else, right?
yeah. It's
Yeah.
very, I see it clear. I see that clearly. I also see
Like an
that,
abusive father who's
yeah,
been
yeah.
beaten when he was a kid by his father, all this kind of stuff.
I also
Just
see it very clear how that is the thing that it's a boundary. That is a boundary, like an edge of breaking out of it. It's a boundary that is very difficult to go through unless you have someone like prick you with a needle, almost like burst that
yeah.
bubble. Because if
Right.
when you're into that, I see that everywhere. It's so funny, dude. But the way that this works, the way that groups work, the way that the psychology of groups
Yeah.
in general, just how it is very cyclical, and just over the most minute things, like the painting experiment that I talked about with you last year when I was studying social psychology of two groups that were looking at a piece of art, and they managed to get a get an identity over the people who likes this painting versus them, the people that likes their painting, and when they were told to allocate resources or money in between each other, they gave themselves or their group much more of the share. It's like ridiculous, like such a
Yeah, yeah.
little thing. And then
Yes, yes.
if you then take a huge overarching thing like race or not ethnicity today, or
Mhm.
ethnicity that has so many uh, actual things baked into it from a historic perspective and into the day
Right.
of
Much deeper story.
yeah, yeah. Imagine growing up in a low, like impoverished part of the nation, this sort of hood area of all of the people that are live there are like this. There's no one that isn't like, or there's barely anyone that isn't. The people who have these thoughts, maybe of a similar line that you have, don't have the same kind of voice.
Hmm.
It becomes so difficult to not do that thing. It's like I saw that. It's so stupid. Uh, wow, World of Warcraft Classics released, and now there's this huge group of people that are classic fucking fucking, like jihadists. On like they're like they hate retail and they fucking hate people that play retail, and people from retail are like, whoa, what the fuck? And they have a backlash from the other way. It just happens everywhere. Is this? I don't know what people need. I don't know what those people need to realize that you can like in those ridiculous situations. When it comes to ethnicity, it's way more complicated. But when it comes to small, minute, everyday things that it seeps through to, I don't know exactly what they need to be exposed to realize that you can like a thing without rejecting all other things. Like you can enjoy, you can identify, you can enjoy this thing without feeling completely threatened by all other things that are around it that are different, you know?
It probably starts from a really young age, man. When as soon as your people are born, their parents keep telling them to be like this and not be like that. Be like us, don't be like them. Do this, don't do that. This is how we eat. This is how we sleep. This is how we talk. This is what we don't do. This is what we do. And so you learn to be with the we. That's the whole education of the culture. Be with us. This is what we believe. We believe evolution.
Yeah.
We believe this. We believe in God. We believe in the Constitution of the United States of America. Whatever it is, you just grow up and you're just part of that group. And then it's so hard for people to break out of that because like that's what they grow up doing. It's so hard. And I understand that, man. It's very scary for people to come out. It's like to break out of that cultural self and to find a truer, more like how can I say, self-made personality rather than a culturally given one. It is a really like a major step of psychological evolution that I
Hmm.
think we're not very I don't think society is very fond of pushing for that. We don't really have a path towards that, and I think it's generally not very like that's not something that is very like incentivized or like pushed for. It's kind of like a weird thing when people are because here's the thing: a lot of the people that don't follow the meta, that don't just follow the culture, the current culture, they become on the opposite team. They become a part of the culture of not following the culture. Like
Yeah,
do
yeah,
you
they're
know? Do
like,
you see what I mean?
yeah, yeah, you're in the way of our flow, almost like the flow of this river, and you're going against it, and you're creating friction and issues. Like,
Well, it's like you have a people that are like doing the cultural thing that go and do this stuff, and then you have a people that form a team, which is a counterculture where they all dress as in black, or they all paint their nails black, or they all walk around with a certain style, or there's but it's like that, that you just went from you rebelled against the hive mentality by creating your own hive mentality. It's like the same thing we do with a lot of these things. It's like, oh, you rebel against people that are really hateful and angry and violent by being violent. Like all it's like these short-sighted approaches to trying to solve problems that don't really take into account like history and long-term consequences, and they're just more out of desperation and instinct rather than a calculated, intelligent, meaningful approach to something very studied and clear of a goal.
Yes. Yes.
I also,
It's this thing with the McKenna. It's like culture's not your friend.
yeah, yeah, culture is just there. It's like a program that you can run. It's like the default program. You're born and there's like Windows, but it doesn't mean that Windows is like your Windows is like not made to be your friend. Windows is made to support like the people that made Windows more than you. It's not made to support you, and so you have to be aware of that as you grow up. I think people have to, but I think I see a future where there's much less of that, and I think already that is breaking down, right? Because if you look back even 20 years ago, the culture or the main culture had such a strong grip on everybody. I think that is kind of loosening up. I think all these structures are breaking down, the religious structures, the political structures, the economic structures, the media, a lot of these social structures, the education system, it's like all breaking down. And on some level that is creating a lot more like what we were talking about with the diversity and equality and more people having power rather than this is the way we do it. These are the people that have the power. Everybody else just has to work for them. And there's almost no other path in the whole fucking game.
Yes. Hmm. Yeah.
But you were talking about the book. I really want to hear what you thought, what you were writing about the book,
Oh yes.
The 40 Rules of
No,
Love.
I just think yes, I will talk about that. I just love ponder about the direction of the machine almost.
Yeah, the ship, the mothership, bro.
Yeah, the mothership, bro. Yeah, the book, dude. I love the book. The Rumi. It's like a okay. I didn't know what it was at all when I bought it. I
Yeah,
just bought it on your recommendation.
right.
I had no idea what it was gonna be about.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's
I didn't
called
really tell you very much either.
yeah, the 40 Rules of Love by what is his name? As
Elif Shafak. It's a
yes,
it's a female Turkish Persian or something author,
yeah,
Turkish English maybe something like this.
and so far at least it's about a woman living a very, I would say, very normal modern life. Not to disparage the life of any way, just that this is a thing that I think a lot of middle-aged women specifically, but even men,
Yeah,
but specifically women, because the main character is a woman, could relate to
right.
being in your 40s, closing up on your 50s, and being in a relationship that doesn't have that much love in it anymore outside of this nurturing forgiveness and this
Almost
acceptance.
friendship.
Yeah, it's companionship. It's like a
Yes,
companionship.
yes, yes. That's a even better word. Yeah.
Uh, and and she's put on this. She has a job assignment where she's supposed to read a book, and she's given this book from a different culture than she's from. It's from Middle East, right? This guy,
Mm-hmm.
and is it the book? Is the book written by Rumi, or is it? Is it?
I'm not sure how that works. I have not read it in a very long time. I've
Yeah.
actually read that book in one day, so I barely remember exact details. I remember the details that really struck me about
Oh, dude,
the
I
the
have
the,
some
the part the
stuff.
part that really struck me. I don't know if you how far you've gotten in the book, but like the Shems and the Rumi
Yes.
thing and their whole thing, and I also really love the way the book is written in that like it keeps going back and
I
forth
love
between
that
these two
too.
worlds and stuff.
Different perspectives.
Yes, yes, yes. It's like a really like multi-layered and stuff. It's
Yeah.
really interesting. It keeps you engaged. It's not like this linear like like thing. There's like a lot of interest.
Super,
thing. Yeah.
super cool. Yeah, it puts you in the body of different pieces of the same scenes, and then also moves it forward in a way. Super cool. But but yeah, she's reading this book and she's realizing lots of stuff. But what the stories, the stories from that is described of where I'm at. There's this religious guy, spiritual figure that is called what is the title? I wrote it down because it reminded me of you, man.
Who?
This guy.
Shamsuddin
Yes.
or Rumi?
No, Shims.
Shamsuddin Tabrizi.
Yes. He
He is.
Sufi dervish.
Yeah. I think Darvish. He's called. Yeah.
It's I think isn't that I think dervish isn't that like a thing, like a
It's a
religious
Sufi. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a. It is. It is. Darwish is almost like a what is in. I don't know if I'm using the right word, but I believe there's something like this in India, where when a man hits 60 years old or like a certain age, he becomes traditionally what is called a brahmacharya or a brahmachari, where he leaves his family and he just goes out by himself, like seeking like food and like spiritual knowledge or something like that. And basically, this guy was like a wandering poor like a spiritual person that was like just on the path of just wandering the land of God, just walking freely in this world kind
Yeah.
of.
Yeah, he describes that he meditates with hermits in caves and he has danced with native shamans on like the plain. Like he's done
Yes,
he's dabbled and engaged with it all and
yes, he's
just
seen
know.
the world.
Yes.
Yes,
And he speaks when he speaks to the common people, if you were to say it like that. He expresses himself often using analogies because it's very descriptory. It paints a picture in your mind that is easily consumable. I think it's a really beautiful, intelligent way to communicate something complex and
yes.
deep. Um, I wrote down I wrote down one particular thing that I thought was cool because you've been talking to me about the Quran and what it means to you to read it now in your as you've gotten older.
Mm-hmm.
And he describes the difference between these then dominant Muslims and their
Right.
understanding of it, and the four layers of understanding the Quran.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it's really cool. I don't remember the layers, but it's like this external layer the that the not the Shia, the what are they called? Not Shia Muslims.
Sunnis.
Like I don't know, some of them.
just
So
just probably
yeah,
just the common people.
yes, the common people
Just
understanding
a
of it.
person who can read. If you can read Arabic, that's like.
That's what you get. That's the level of understanding you receive.
Yes, like very literal.
And then the levels keeps going down into the fourth layer is he described it like it's so profound and so deep that it cannot be expressed. It's like the that that layer of understanding is beneath the prophet's understanding. Like no, it's not.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know if you mean like it's beyond them, but it's just at the layer where you can't even express it. Like it's not, or at least no one has
Yes.
expressed
Yes.
it.
Well, that is what is considered true in Islam. It is considered that even Muhammad himself doesn't fully grasp what the Quran is, because the Quran was not written only for him or his people or for his time. It was written as a universal message, and it is written for all of time
Hmm.
to come. So there are things that are supposed to only make sense later when people arrive at a certain knowledge, like the
Cool.
Big Bang or dark matter, or like the Big Crunch, or all these things that we discover and talk
Yes.
about in modern culture, quantum physics, like these kind of things. Like it is very weird for people to, especially that
Oh.
don't see the that look at it like, oh, it's just some stupid book from a long time ago. What the fuck are you talking about? But it's like, if it is books that are talking about the fundamental of life and how it works, like yin yang, light and dark, like the books that talk about the fundamental nature of things, and time, and the beginning and creation, if they're grasping what they're supposed to be grasping, of course they're going to be way beyond their people's time,
Hmm.
of course. And
Yeah.
so it only makes sense that it gets to that point. And I think I don't know if you've ever read the Tao Te Ching, but the Tao Te Ching, which is the Chinese one, uh, Taoist one, they have really cool stuff too in that. It's really deep. I wonder how crazy it is to actually read it in Chinese. But even in English, reading it is intense. That one, um,
I haven't.
yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool. But yes, so you wrote that about the Quran and the layers.
Yes, I thought that
Yes,
was
it's
cool,
really
and
cool.
this thing that seeps through of sincerity, and just the way that that character is described, I really love. It's
Yeah.
such a open person, um,
Hmm.
and he describes a story of that I loved as well, about Moses and a shepherd. You remember that story? It's
No.
Moses sees a shepherd praying with his arms wide open towards the sky on a meadow or on a hill, and he like he likes that, you know, like oh, like cool, cool. And when he walks up to him to see what he's saying, and as he gets close to him, he's telling God how much he loves him in the way of like, if you like, if you wanted to, I would slaughter my fattest sheep, and I would serve you like the greatest meal you've ever had, and I would wash your feet, and I would do all of these things. And as he's describing it, Moses like starts to frown. He's like, "What are you doing? Why are you praying that? Like, do you think God eats? Do you think God has feet?" And the shepherd becomes ashamed, and then Moses takes him
Yeah.
in. It's like, "I'm gonna show you how to pray. I'm gonna get," and he teaches him a few prayers that night. And then
Hmm.
that night when Moses goes to bed, God speaks to him, and he says like, "What have you done?" Like, he was one of my most like I loved him. Like, I
Yeah.
loved the way that he prayed. He like, he prayed genuinely from himself. And Moses like, but
That's
he
what he knew. Like
yeah,
he that's what
yes,
to him
exactly,
love was,
yes, yes,
sacrificing his sheep.
yes, because Moses like, but that's blasphemy. And God's like, yes, but it's like, it's the sweet blasphemy that like I loved him.
Yes.
What have you done? And then the next day, Moses again sees him praying on the hill, and he walks up to him, and he hears him like stammering the repetition of what he's been told to pray, and he's really trying. And
Yes.
Moses goes up to him like, "I'm sorry, like I made a mistake. You should pray to God just the way that you want. Like, pray to Him in
What's
your
natural
own
to
way."
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's so, and the shepherd's relieved, and then the story basically ends. But I thought that was
Right.
beautiful. Pray,
Yes.
pray in your own way, and that's tied so well. It just spoke to me because I've been thinking a lot about just living life your own way, and just
Yeah.
following your own path is like the
Yes.
most beautiful thing you can do in a way too.
Right. It's not about
This
just everybody has to do the same thing. Like this is the right way. Everybody do this one. It's like, no, people have different ways, man.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
I
that's
thought,
okay. Like it's yeah.
yeah, man, that was beautiful.
Yes. That's a really cool story.
Love
I
that
love that.
story. Yeah. Um, is this? is this thing I'm seeing that goes into all of the things we've talked about now. That's what group mentality is. That's when you start to following a pattern of has been. You're following culture of what you're supposed to do. And like this story and I think the great people of mankind and the history of mankind have been individuals that are in. I need to stop using this word because I use it all the time. Inductive, but they create on their own. Like they follow their own intuition, their heart. They listen to their heart. They do what they feel is the right thing to do, and they are brave enough to stand up on their own feet, despite uh, despite whatever challenges may come their way because of it.
Yes,
There's a
I
certain
think that's
bravery.
something
Yeah.
very in, like big there, like that, like the thing you're talking about. All the really great people of mankind, none of them were just like almost very few are actually just followed the culture, followed their current meta. They were great because they looked outside of it and then contributed something to it that it didn't already have.
Yes.
And at first they were resisted very hard, depending on how big what they were bringing is, right? Because sometimes if you bring something too big, then it's like people could barely handle that. They might kill you. But eventually, it happens. I mean, when Darwin brought evolution, I don't know what happened in Europe in the beginning, but that would be I don't think I've read that much about the history of like the like the what do I say, the aftermath of Darwin releasing that and dying. It must have caused such a ripple of insane magnitude all over the world in the very beginning, and like the slow build up, because probably the communication stuff wasn't very good, and it took a long time for people to really like realize that this thing what it was, and that somebody was talking about it. But
Massive
it's like,
diversion.
yeah. Yeah, stuff like this. Like even all the prophets, like Jesus himself, he walks into the temple and just like throws the whole culture upside down, throws the tables, and he's like, "You guys turned the house of my father into like you're just selling, you're just a commerce. Like this isn't what this stuff is for. You're." And so they people that are like really cool, they resist culture, but we don't follow their example. We follow, I don't know what we follow. We follow each other, I guess. We just follow the priest that tells us. It's very rare that people actually look at like, what? Okay, wait. Who is Jesus exactly? What is he talking about? Can I just follow Jesus instead of like listen to anybody else? Like people don't really do that
But this
very
is
much.
this is certain empowerment that we've been given and granted in the later 100 years, where people are
Yes.
actually literate and people are able to read on their own, and now
Yes.
and they're able to they're more capable of
Right. The material
yeah.
is accessible. It's out there.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's not just one book and some library. No, I'm sorry. Keep going.
No. I just wanted to say that. I just interjected you. I think I
Yeah.
think I think we're the most empowered and free that we've ever been with the
Yes.
access to internet that we have. And hmm,
I think we work really hard. I think I've really been loving this metaphor of the garden and the forest. I think we've been really trying hard to make humanity a garden. This thing that is very kind of artificial and is really really high maintenance, and you gotta like keep it under control, trim everything, don't let this plant go out of control, don't let this plant grow too far, take out the weeds, kill these people, or not people, like kill these plants, don't let these ones, kill the pests, destroy the disease, destroy the whatever. Like it's super engineered, and the moment you stop paying attention to it for like 2 months, it just all goes haywire. And then there is a and but it looks cool when you take care of it and stuff, like there's a certain kind of order and beauty to a really well cared for garden. But then there's a different kind of beauty to a forest, and the forest is a very different thing than the garden. It is like this thing that is wild, and it has been there for millions of years with nobody maintaining it. It is just a natural, organic uh play out of all the factors in a very intelligent, harmonious way. And if we, I mean, of course, it has its own issues. I'm not saying that that we should just be wild, but I mean, the forest isn't bad. The forest is what made us, right? Like we it wasn't a garden that. I mean, our story is that it was a Garden of Eden, but the Garden of Eden probably was a forest. You know, like
Yeah.
it's all forests. That's what gave birth to all of the things, and we're so um, intent on this idea of trying to make everything structured, and everywhere you go there's a sign, and there's a thing that people tell you what to do, and everything is like like controlled, and there's so much like bureaucracy and rules and lines, and it's like I don't know. I feel like there I really am gravitating towards shifting the weight a little bit more towards the leg of the forest leg rather than the garden leg,
What does that
so
mean
to speak.
practically?
Um, Practically, it means like you don't just try to make everything look really nice and pretty from outside, but is actually very dysfunctional as a system. You actually make a good system that incorporates everything. Like so
It's beautiful in and of itself.
yeah, it just you create an environment that supports a system that thrives. Um, and I think you could do that as a human. Like as a human being, if you want to be a garden, then your day-to-day life is very like, oh,
Superficial.
how do I, yeah, like even your approach to like an exercise. Like I see these people on the Wim Hof method all the fucking time. Jesus Christ. It really like there's a certain part of me that gets really frustrated with it, even though it's beautiful too. They care and they're trying and they're getting into the school thing. And I appreciate that. So but I see this thing where people really like, oh my god, do I breathe through my nose or do I breathe through my mouth? How long do I hold my breath? 10 or 15 seconds. How cold should the water be? My water is at 63 degrees Fahrenheit. Is it okay, or should I buy a new method of cooling? Is it okay to take a cold shower for 5 minutes instead of 3 minutes for this week's exercise? Like all these like it's like that's people's approach to things. It's a very like a structured like I'm gonna do it this way. Today I'm gonna eat 8,000 calories, or like no, not 8,000 calories. I'm an athlete. Like 2,000 calories of fat and whatever this, and I'm gonna eat a banana, and I'm gonna eat a fucking this thing, and it's like I really think there's something about that approach that is very sterile. like it's very it doesn't really go anywhere in a sense. It's not really where it's at. I think there's so much more intelligence in learning to connect. That's something I've been thinking about, a course to develop
Training
in a
your
future.
intuition.
Yeah, and listening to your body, like you have a class where people maybe smell like different things, or taste different things, or eat different things, or do different exercises, or hold like there's these things, and there are these like studies I've listened to. There's a really funny one that I remember where people had to hold a pen in their mouth and watch a 5 minute like movie, and one group of people held the pen like straight forward, like pointy. So they were like frowning, like ooh, look this, like kiss, like a kiss mouth. They were holding the pen straight forward,
Yes.
so they were like pouty. and the other people held it like a horizontally, so they were kind of smiling like this, like, oh really, like stretching out their lips all the way like a smile. And the people that held the pen sideways versus the pen people that held it forward thought that, like, gave the movie like 5 more average rating out of 10 than the people holding it straight forward. So it's like, it's hilarious how affected by just holding postures and like how the food looks and what it does. But we're so not in tune with that. Like, we're so not, people don't wake up in the morning, they're like, I'm gonna take a cold shower for 2 minutes and let's see what that does. They're like, is a cold shower good for you? What does this guy say? It's like like what why? Like, why I think it would be really cool to have a course. I'm not sure exactly how, but a course that really teaches you to listen to your body, and when it comes to diet, when it comes to sleep, when it comes to your needs, and how much is too much and how much is too little, and just kind of like be in tune with it, because it's the only thing that really knows. Like, there is no person out there that's just going to tell you how your body works. Like, it just, that's not how that works. Like, your body is going to tell you what it wants. We're so disconnected from that. We think that we have to, like, this whole thing that has been evolving for the last 3 billion years. We're gonna come here with our, you know, few hundred years of like science and and like very very limited education on an individual level, and we're gonna like
You're gonna read an
figure
internet
this thing out.
article. You're gonna read a 10-step
Yes,
article, and you're gonna fix
you're
your
gonna
entire
you're
life.
gonna yes, you're gonna teach your body how to run properly. You're gonna do it, or you're gonna figure out what the best way to eat is through reading an article online about a guy telling you to eat three
Only
pieces of meat
asparagus.
every day. Yes, and asparagus at night, or some superfood, or some crazy fucking thing that people have. And it's like, it's just so funny that that's what we do.
Yeah. Well,
We're
I
so
see. I see a real. Mm, there's a huge confusion that goes into this uh, intuitive ability with our bodies and what we need because of the current the current idea of what food should be. For most people, they eat a very calorie dense diet in the
Dude,
West.
that's something I've been really
Carbohydrate.
feeling, how much we eat. Man, we eat so much. We saturate our digestive system as much as we're always eating. And it's always carbs and sugar.
Yeah, always
There's
carbs. I was
carbs and
gonna say
it's
that.
so much carb. It's so much
What kind of
everywhere.
a gut environment does that foster, and what kind of a
Yeah, brain,
psychology?
right?
What kind of
Yes.
psychology does that cause? Because
Yeah.
it's so interesting to talk to people that aren't aware of the amount of effect your gut bacteria in your gut
Yeah.
has on
Yes.
your experience as a
Yes.
person, like what you experience.
It's basically your second
There's,
brain almost.
yeah, it's like if
Literally.
it, it's and it's in such a conflict of what this machine actually thrives on, that you become so sick and you have all these skin conditions
Right.
and
It gets, because it gets
diseases.
programmed, right? It's less
Yeah,
like your mind. If you
yeah,
become saturated with negativity and abuse, and you have like your menu over your life is just negative, 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 and your brain develops that way, then it works against you, because it's a very powerful, it's extremely that's what you are. I mean, that's what you're made of. So it's a very very, has such a huge impact on your life. Every single thing you do, your performance, your relationships, the way you talk, the way you move, the way you feel, your skin, your hair, your eyes, every single thing in your whole life.
yes,
And the same thing with your gut. It's like,
yes,
what's what we're made of. I mean, the food we eat and the way it affects us, and our impulse for it,
yes.
and the hunger, and yeah.
Because what I was gonna say was that the people that might hear what you say should be more in tune with our intuition and our bodies, and are you are more in line with what your body tells you to do. But if your body tells you to eat chocolate bars every day because it's been on a super high carbohydrate diet for its entire life, you
Right.
know, and it's like,
Yes, that voice
oh,
is so loud. It's
so
so
loud.
hard way to
And
get from. Even though there is a voice right under that that says, "Hey, I don't really feel good.
yeah.
This is not. This is not nice. This is actually really hurts. I feel bad." But that voice is like low because you have not been listening to it. You've
Yes.
turned that voice way down.
Yeah. The
Yeah,
other one's
yeah.
booming,
Yes, the
booming.
other one is feed me.
Yes.
I need more donuts,
Yeah.
more sugar,
Yeah.
coffee, Coke, something, anything,
Yes.
please.
Yes. A life of fucking salad is not worth living. You're not having a
Yes.
quality life.
Yes.
Eh.
Salad. Yes, keto is so intense. David Goggins, I found out, does keto basically.
Yeah. All the time.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, yeah, that's what he's does. He like very little carbs,
Cool.
like he has 40%, 40%, 20% is his macros, like 40% protein, 40% fat, 20% carb, because
Mm.
he's a fucking crazy athlete, so he needs like insane amount of protein and he needs more carbs than average, but he still tries to go for like just minimum carbs and high fat, high protein kind of.
You
And
think that expression? Do you think David Goggins? Because to me, when I look at him, it's like, yo, dude, that's too much. It's like that's all you are.
I love that. I no, I
No, no, no,
see.
no, no. Wait, 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 wait,
Yeah.
wait. The way that okay, sorry.
Yes.
If you did that, you would do nothing else but that. It would be like you're not doing a podcast in that way. You're not like politically engaged. You're not
Right.
doing any of those stuff. You are the expression of breakdown and rebuilding of the
Yes.
physical body. That's it. That's it.
But you know something? A lot of the stuff he does is actually really socially geared. Like I didn't know this, but apparently he does a lot of his runs for charity, and he did like a one time he organized like a 48-hour nonstop run around a 1 mile lap where where he ran like nonstop every hour for like 48 hours just to raise money for people. And you watch his videos, man. He really tries to reach people. He really wants people. I think his life is his message in a way. Do you see what I mean?
No, I
Like
see
he
exactly what
is
you mean.
that example of that. He
Yeah, no.
tries to be that.
He
That's his
is
way.
he is such a strong beacon of that. I think that my
Yes.
idea of it is that
He's a
is that
literally he's like a Shaolin monk in the West.
I
You
was
know, it's a very intense.
is that you can he is so strongly radiant in that break down face hard fucking
But he's very intelligent about it,
yes,
you know?
yes, yes.
I was watching
But
him do pull-ups. Very sorry. I was watching him do pull-ups and he does 5 every minute. Like he will have a watch and he will go up on the bar, do 5 pull-ups and come down. And he will keep going until he can't stop. And it's done in this way that is like, it's like a you know how people that are really good at torturing, they don't just walk in. If you're getting tortured by somebody who's really good at torture, they don't just walk in there and like prematurely ejaculate and just blow the load and like fuck you up right away. They know how to like do it slowly to get the maximum suffering, to get the maximum pain. He does that to himself. He has a method to his madness. He doesn't just go there and break himself down and I'm just breaking myself down. No, he knows exactly how to like drag that out and like in just like pull every drop out of the rag. He keeps going to this metaphor. He loves this metaphor of like having a towel and he wrings it out and he wants every last drop and he keeps going more and more and more and more and more and more. It's like so crazy. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's amazing. I didn't mean that there I have nothing like
Right. You're just talking about his
negative to say.
image.
Is
Yes,
that
yes,
is that it's
yes.
so radiant in one aspect that
Right.
anyone could recognize it and they could in their own fucking one
A lot of
hour
people
workout
freak
they
out.
could
They can't.
probably
They can't recognize it
no
because
I
it's
think they
like this
can no
transformative
here's what I
experience.
think if you see that you see him doing the fucking he's running and he's talking when his wife is filming him
Right.
whatever and
I
then
love that's that part of it, that it's his wife there.
yeah
That to me adds such a beautiful
it's so
dimension
beautiful
rather than just him being himself by himself. Hey, I'm just running by myself all the time because I love because I just no. He has like like there's this. I wonder what his wife's experience is
I,
being watching him
I,
filming that crazy person. Yeah.
what I meant with that, it's his only thing, and I thought of what I said, and I realized that that's what most people end up with. It's just that if you're a great musician, that's your only thing usually. You know, maybe you dabble a little bit here and there, but that's your thing. You're the musician. You're the like whatever. You're the thing.
Right.
He's that thing, and
Right.
and uh, I think he's so clear in that even an average Joe can extract
Right.
some power from that sun in their 1 hour
Yes.
workout. It's not like they're wringing out the fucking towel to the very last drop, but they'll wring it out more than they would have if that beam never hit them. A
Yes.
little bit, just a little bit.
Yes.
And that does such a huge effect on a large scale because he has such an outreach on the internet, you know, that he would never have in any other time of history ever.
Right.
His beams hits the
Especially with his
most people
lifestyle.
ever. Yeah, ever. So cool. Such a son. That way.
Yes.
Really cool. But what I meant was that I don't think you can look at him and his physical exertion and then go, oh, I want that, and then I
It's like
also
looking
want
at
all of
Faker.
yes, it's, and then I also want all of these other things. Like
Yeah. 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 I know. I know. Right. Right.
you
Right.
can do that. What I've described with you with this, like the implanting a part of your essence in someone else and them vice versa. It's like you can
Yes.
do that with him, and you can have an essence of him in you, and
Yes.
aspire and be inspired and aspire to move towards that flame.
Yes.
Uh,
I mean, I think in League I never
while
really
not
pushed.
being the literal sun yourself. Like,
Right. Right. I think in League, and when I look at my brain, I think I did what he did for my brain in and like maybe not as crazy because he went like through Navy SEALs and Hell Week and shit. And I've done my own version of Hell Week. It's a Hell month. I wonder. I would actually love to see Navy SEALs try to do that, play 15 games or like 15 to 20 games of League a day for like 30 days and have to sit there for like 16 hours, never go out of like their house and just like eat and like just play League all day. I wonder how many people could actually pull that off because physically it was extremely tough. Like that was one of the worst physical experiences of my entire life when I did that.
people
Like
don't
my whole
probably know.
body was
People don't probably know that if they're listening to this recording, that, or maybe they do, but that you used to play League of Legends on a really high level.
right, right. I used to play League of Legends and I used to be a challenger, which is one of the top 0.0001%. I used to be top 50 out of like millions of people and or like a million people. I'm not sure how many people on the North American ladder, like a lot of people, but
Yeah.
uh I played that. It was like for a few years it was like my religion. I dedicated everything to it. And that allowed me to really flesh out certain parts of my neurology, I think, and my brain and development, and in terms of working with people as a team, in terms of pushing my own self to my own limit, and what success is, and hard work, and how to overcome plateaus, and how to
Right.
get unstuck, and how to be creative, and hone my edge, and capitalize on my strengths, and capitalize on other people's weaknesses, and all these things that are
Well,
like fundamental strategy, right? Yeah.
I wanted just to interject with that because it's not like you're some fucking fuck that plays 15 hours a day because there's nothing better to do on fucking Silver League. You know, you actually were
Right.
at a
Right.
respectable degree.
Yes,
So
yes,
sorry,
I was
sorry.
making money from it, and I
Yes,
was trying to go professional.
sorry.
Uh, and I, I, I would really love to dedicate, not the rest of my life, but a specific, like maybe 4 years to really pushing my body, really leveling up, like really moving away from the sedentary lifestyle and allowing my body, even if like I'm nowhere. I've never reached that level in my um reaction and being physically what is called like in League, it's like your class or your form. I've never reached that form ever again. Like that was my form when I was really playing hardcore. But ever since then, I've declined. But me being at that place changed everything forever. Like whenever I go back to games or whenever I play games now, I have a gear in me that most other people don't have, and I understand the game from a perspective that most other people don't. And I think I would really like to take my body to a similar place where even if for a short period I get it up to like a really insane shape. It doesn't have to be faker. Like I wasn't faker. I was not even like a really good pro, but I was very very good at what I was doing, and I really like that idea of pushing my body to a place where I push like my own potential to its limits or very close physically, and then kind of go let the pendulum swing back to a more balanced place after that and allow it to be like maintenance. Because then there's a different thing that happens when you've been in really really excellent shape and then you go back to maintenance. It's very different than just staying at maintenance from the start. I think
Yeah,
that's
man.
it.
You sorry. You think
Yeah,
that's a
I just think then after that I can maintain something very very beautiful rather than maintain something mediocre to me, because
yeah?
I want to maintain like this agility and speed. I want to be able. I really love the idea of being able to just run 10 miles like that. Like that shouldn't be crazy. Like all these things that like yeah yeah
I think you're also at a beautiful place in regards to that, having spent the last few years being interested in health, your well-being, like really laying the foundation to really do something with that, to really
yes.
build something beautiful, not do the stupid torturer blow your load instantly because you
Premature
yeah no
ejaculation
no you
torture.
no there's a
That's
you have a method, you have a deep
that's such a good
understanding,
meme.
you have a deep
Yes.
understanding of your own body, not just the ideas of what the body does should do. No, you've actually gone through uh different types of diets, different types of like lifestyles, almost like in a way
Yes.
I'd say,
Yes.
and you've studied like some of the most proficient geniuses of health and well-being, fitness, holistic well-being, like Paul Check,
And
you know,
yes,
and you
so
have all,
many.
yeah, so many, just but like these people, you have all of these structures to help you to make
Right.
this really cool thing. So I think you're at a really beautiful place with that uh, direction, thing you want to do. It's gonna be awesome, man.
Yeah, man. I think the physical aspect of it is definitely gonna be very, very awesome. I'm very much looking forward to that journey in my life.
And that was episode 3. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you found this episode meaningful, or if you have any comments or feedback on this content or our style, we're open. Please leave us your feedback on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or our own subreddit /talk to Warlock. We will be looking for your input. Thank you, and have a great day.
Can you see the devil inside of me? He bites me. I wanna be free. Please set me free. Please follow me. A white staircase, the residence of this place. They curse every step that I take. Please set me free. Please set me free. Don't bother, just follow me. A hollow tree rests on the seams of eternity. The ground alone terrifies me. Please set me free. Please set me free. Don't bother, just follow